Tonight we're going to be drinking Maker's Mark Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Now a lot of people this side of the pond and in good old Blighty haven't got the highest of opinions of American whiskies, and that's a funny thing because actually the biggest selling whiskey in the United Kingdom at the moment is Jack Daniel's. It's quite incredible. It's a very popular party drink. It's really popular as a mixer. People drink it with Coke and get very drunk and throw up and things like that. And that's no way to treat a good whiskey, but then we are talking about Jack Daniel's. But this stuff isn't Jack Daniel's. This is Maker's Mark. It's America's only handmade bourbon whiskey. They make it in small batches of just 19 barrels per batch, and it's actually pretty good stuff. So let's have a taste. So as we can see, this is a very rich and colorful whiskey. Talking a very dark caramel color. In the bottle, it's actually got a sort of chestnut red kind of hue. Very attractive. It's not supposed to have any additives in it. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of coloring in there. But it does really glow in the light, and it's a really good looking thing. On the nose, straight away, you've got this strong hit of honey. Very sweet on the nose. There's a bit of wood in there. American whiskies are always matured in new oak. It's a law. So most of the barrels that we use over here in the UK come from the United States, where they have first matured bourbons before they come over here to mature Scotch. As such, the majority of American whiskies also tend to be sweet because the new oak has got this real sweet vanilla-y taste to it, and the honey and vanilla is present right on the nose as soon as you take your first whiff of this stuff. It's very good. It smells beautiful, strong, lots of alcohol, very strong vapors, and you swirl it around your glass, you can see that it's got very long trickly legs. Don't know if it'll come out on the web, but it's sort of translucent, but as it draws down back into the mass of the liquid, you can see the alcohol sticking to the glass, and that's what's called your long legs. It's got quite a high percentage of alcohol in this, very sticky, treacly kind of whiskey. It's really nice. So on the nose, we haven't got a lot of fruit, but we've got a lot of honey, a lot of vanilla, just the tiniest hint of smokiness. Very woody. The oak is very present. See, now the taste of this whiskey is very different to how it comes in the nose. It's a bit bitter, like a lot of American whiskies do tend towards the bitterness, a kind of acerbic, get you in the back of your throat kind of bitterness. But it's, I mean, I'm no fan of Jim Beam. Jim Beam is very characteristic of this kind of flavor, really sort of claggy bitterness, and I'm not a fan of the bitterness. But this is alright. It's well measured. It's got a nice amount of bitterness, but it's also got some sweetness on the tongue and in the front of your mouth. A bit of fruitiness, but it's quite savory. It's not as sweet as it smells, and it smells very sweet. The honey notes are there. It's nice. It is nice. And it's an affordable whiskey too. In the UK, this retails at about £25 a bottle, which is really entry-level Scotch kind of money. It's a little bit more expensive than a bottle of Jack Daniel's, but it's worth it. That's very nice. a little bit about the bottle. Every bottle is uniquely dipped in wax by hand, which is a pretty cool thing in this day and age. I like that. That's classy. It looks really good. Makes it distinctive. The labeling is beautiful. There's a little story about welcoming you to their distillery in Loretto, Kentucky, and it's got a story about the way they make it. It's all classy stuff, well delivered. It'll look nice at any bar, and on aesthetics alone, it's worth having. But it tastes good, and I think if you're going to buy a bourbon, this is my favorite. And everyone should have a bourbon. You might be making the occasional old-fashioned, or perhaps somebody in the house likes a stronger, more sort of warming whiskey, because this is really warming. It really gets in your chest and you feel it. If you've got a cold and you want something to make you feel a little bit more human, this is a good bet as well. So I'm a Scotch guy. I like my whiskies more refined, with sort of softer notes of this and that and the other thing. And I like to sit there and sip it and really think about what I'm enjoying. This isn't really like that. This is more of a straight up thing. It's exactly what it says on the bottle. It tastes like 3 or 4 things and they're obvious. But that's good. It's honest, straightforward. You know, that's pretty standard American stuff, isn't it? But it's nice. I'm not going to pretend this isn't nice. So, this is a 45% alcohol bottling. It is a bit strong. It does warm your chest a lot. It does burn you on your tongue. The fumes come up your nasal passages. So it might, and it is oily, so it might do with a drop of water. So I'm going to use my trusty drinking straw pipette again. Put a few drops of good old North Warwickshire tap water in here. I'm a Philistine when it comes to the tradition of using distilled water. It's not my thing. It's too much hassle. Okay, so this has really changed the nose. All of a sudden there's a lot of fruit. Thinking apples, and the honey is still very present, but a lot of the strong alcohol fumes have died down a little bit, so it's releasing a little bit more. This is improved. A lot more subtlety with the water, really, a lot more. Tastes a lot of fruit. And caught somewhere between apples or pears dipped in honey. A lot of fruitiness in there, but the fruit is a bit soft, but the sweetness has really come out. There is still a bitterness to it, sort of sour bitterness, but with water it's really liberated a lot of different flavors. This is definitely a whiskey that I recommend you drink with water. It's good. I mean, some people really like a complicated whiskey, and there are some whiskies that it's a bit of a shame to drink when you're not in the mood to really soak them up. And I've got a bottle of Japanese whiskey in the cupboard that's really so beautiful and complex and delicate that I really only want to drink it on special occasions when I know that I'm just going to really enjoy every little bit of what it's got inside its bottle. But this one This is easy to enjoy. It's hot on its sleeve. You take it and you can taste everything that's going on. It warms your chest. It makes you feel good. It's a really good party whiskey, and it's going to make you friends. This is a good whiskey for sharing. This is a whiskey for taking on a camping trip, for sure. For sure. I have a little story from my misspent youth. When I was in my early 20s, so legal drinking age, to be fair, but going on a camping trip with a variety of age groups and various different levels of social responsibility. And I had a lovely brown earthenware mug that I would drink coffee from in the morning. But from about, from when that cup of coffee was finished, I top it up with a little bit of very, very cheap bourbon. I can't remember what it was called, but it was bottled in South Africa. That's how cheap it was. I bought it from a wholesaler. I used to drink this from this brown mug, and given the alpine altitudes that we were at in the Drakensberg in South Africa, I could sip that whiskey almost all day without anybody notice I wasn't drinking coffee. And I think I fooled a lot of people. I don't know, you tell me. But it's a good story. It's a good memory. Love, me and bourbon, we go back. I used to drink a lot of Jack Daniels as a kid, early 20s, not 14, early 20s. Before I really got into Scotch, because Scotch was always a lot more expensive for good Scotch. And this again, it's a very cheap whiskey, and it's very nice for what you pay. Very nice. Now, one more thing. A lot of people, especially in the States, drink their whiskey on the rocks. So I have a few cubes of ice. Now, I never have ice in my whiskey. I don't like it. Not my thing. But let's see what this is like. So water down, a lump of ice. And the ice permeate the temperature a little bit. Let's see what. So on the nose is very muted. The low temperature does tend to mute the nose somewhat on whiskies. But it's nice. It's just a hint of honey, and there's actually some smokiness in there. Now this is not, as far as I'm aware, a smoked whiskey. I don't believe that they dry the ingredients with any kind of smoke. So I think it is ash filtered though, so maybe it's got some smoke flavor through there. Okay, I can feel the cold coming through in the glass. So the whiskey's cold now. Let's have a taste. Much more bitter. So the burn is gone. That fieriness is gone. The sweetness is now in the aftertaste. So before, the sweetness was very, very much on the tongue. Coming at you with a burst of sweetness, some fruit and some honey, especially with the water. And this is good with water. But with the ice, I'm not so sure. This would be easy to drink with the ice, because it doesn't have the burn anymore. But the bitterness, that characteristic American whiskey bitterness is there, of which I'm not a huge fan, I have to say. It doesn't taste bad with ice. Whiskey on the rocks is really not my thing. I think it's a old colonial throwback to drinking very bad cheap blends like Hanky Bannister in India when it's hot on a golf club or something like that. So this is really not the way I would drink my whiskey. But I know that whiskey on the rocks is popular in the States, and this whiskey, it does not do any justice to. I would avoid drinking this on the rocks. I would drink Maker's Mark with a splash of water. I think that gets the best out of the whiskey. This is not doing it any favors. It's very easy to drink though. If you don't enjoy whiskey and your friends are making you drink whiskey at gunpoint, there's America. So when you have a Colt 45 at your head and you have to drink something and you don't like whiskey, ask them to put some ice in it. Otherwise, drink this with a splash of water and you'll be much happier. There's something to that. I mean, it's not just... I've had much worse. Hey, at £25 a bottle, available in most places, really pretty bottle, fantastic presentation, really nice rich color, smells beautiful, tastes pretty good when drunk correctly. I recommend Maker's Mark. There's not a lot of whiskey I'm going to tell you is bad other than some really atrocious blends. So, you know, I like whiskey. I like this stuff. £25. What's that? $30? More or less, depending where you are. Buy some, have some fun. Thanks for watching, guys.